Hello, Asaf and Chris, and hello, world. We are
Welcome
coming to
Hello,
one,
you
welcome
everybody.
all.
from the
Yes.
Great Transition Spaceship, where we are going through not the Great Resignation. What was the other one? Not the Great Reset.
Yeah.
And we're not changing our gender. We're not transitioning that way. This is the Great Transition. You look like I just shocked you by saying that last one.
No, it's just because you throw something like that today, and immediately you're
Well,
pro
every time I
or
say
against or in favor or against or you're fighting or it's a very
Every time I
hostile.
send you a message
Yeah.
about the transition, I feel like I need to write, because it's also a topic we want to cover. But no, I'm talking about the show. So we're not talking about the Great Reset or the Great Resignation or transitioning our gender. We're talking about the Great Transition from the end of the development of the material world into our development in the spiritual world.
There we go.
That is the real
Make it
great
clear for
transition.
us. Thank you.
So, welcome. We're looking at what's going on in the world. What a time of change it is. And we're looking at it through the eyes of the Kabbalistic sources, through the eyes of the daily lesson with our teacher, the Kabbalist Rav Lightman, and taking that timeless wisdom about the structure of reality and putting those glasses on and looking what's going on in the world around us. It's a fun adventure together. It's and it requires all of our participation, and that's where this show comes from. That's the purpose of this, so that we can all start to open our eyes and see what's going on and participate in this process, because it requires all of us. So welcome, everyone. There's a force that comes from before creation. Before there was any reality that we can perceive, any reality that we can measure and feel. We currently measure time going back about 14 billion years. And let's see what the James Webb telescope will show us in the meantime. Or it will show us, but in the meantime, our perception feels that the universe is 14 billion years old. That some event that we can perceive through our tools of perception shows us that at that distance, that was the beginning of time. Now, there's a force that comes from before creation. That force is called Bina. All of reality, all of creation is opposite from that. All of creation receives for itself. A plant, the simplest form of life, takes sunlight and performs photosynthesis. It absorbs that light, converts it into energy. Okay, then you go up the food chain to the cow. The cow eats the grass that absorbed the light that it converted into energy. Go up the food chain again. I eat the cow that ate the grass that absorbed the sun and turned it into energy. So all of the degrees in reality are receiving something or taking. We're talking about taking from the sun. Bina is much bigger than the sun. The sun is one star. There's billions of stars in our galaxy. There's billions of galaxies. So this force of Bina is something pretty big. Actually, it doesn't have any measurement. But in order to fulfill the purpose of creation, creation needs to be a vessel that can receive all of this malchut. So if that force is so big, so malchut needs to be so big. That's called malchut of Ein Sof, this endless vessel that can hold this light. If I want to have water, I have to put it in something that can hold water. If I go to the grocery store, I have to put my groceries in a bag. I can't put water in a bag, and I definitely can't put endless light either in this cup or in a grocery bag. Endless light needs a special vessel. Okay, so here's the interesting part. That was just to set up what I want to say now. All of reality, all of this procession of time, all of this incarnations and these changes of matter from simple forms to more complex forms is the development of matter, of malchut, of creation into this vessel. So how does that vessel take form? If we could understand history, we would see, like Christopher Columbus coming across the Atlantic Ocean. Like, what force developed a piece of grass and then a cow and then finally someone who needs to travel over here. What is this force that if we could trace, and we can actually through the books of Kabbalah, Bina's descent all the way down into Malchut, we would see how it comes in and formats the Malchut to take some form. Okay. Well, I'm getting lost in my own
No,
so many things.
that is that because that opens up so many tangents for us
Okay,
to
so let me
to get
try to
into
remember where I
here.
was going. I know there's 100 things here. So how could it be that some force now? Okay, so does Bina is the light of Hasadim? That's also water, right? It's also referred to as like water. So
Yeah.
imagine like water hits the earth, okay, and then it starts to sink in until everything becomes wet, right? But if the earth is hard, the water just kind of hits it and runs off. So now imagine that through all of this time, this light is like sinking in to everywhere until we get to a point now that, the water is beat against this vessel so long that it penetrates the whole thing. And now the whole thing can start getting wet. And because you could still have light hitting it before, but if it wasn't able to penetrate, but now that everybody's all mixed up on the earth and everything is all connected, now look what's happening. Now look what's happening. Something comes and affects all of the earth. Some force, we know what the force is now. Some influence comes and affects all the earth, all the continents, all the government systems. It starts to change the way the way that we live. Something that makes us feel that we're all dependent on other people. Like, has anyone gone on Amazon recently and like the thing you want is on back order? Like you can't get it now? Has anyone gone to the grocery store and realized that the thing that you always used to get for your life is not available as quickly as it was before? All of a sudden we start to see that I count on all these other people for my food, for my toilet paper, for my work. It also turns out that my health, it's not enough that just I exercise or I eat my vitamins. It turns out that my health is completely, I'm dependent on everyone else for my health. It turns out that this force, this some force is working on all of us now and making us feel that we're all tied together.
Yes, it does. I would say, I would say yes, it does. And this is exactly related to what I want to show, what I want to show you guys. I mean, can I just jump in
Jump
there?
in, jump in.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about this situation that we have with the rising inequality fueled by COVID. So I want you guys to just, some people maybe saw this article that I'm showing. I don't know if you're spotlighting me, Chris, but maybe do it so everyone can see. So this is now becoming very clear due to reports, especially one by Oxfam, which is an anti-poverty organization that does these reports every once in a while, showing how inequality grows and everything. But I want you guys to just take in these numbers for a second, right? Just take it in with a clear mind. The 10 richest people in the world, richest men. These are the Bezos and the Gates and the Musks and the Zuckerbergs and a few others, right? We all know them. Anyway, their fortune doubled since since the beginning of COVID. Think about what that means. The wealth of these billionaires increased before COVID as well, but during COVID, during the pandemic, less than 2 years, it increased more than it increased in the last 14 years.
Why
What
though?
is going on here?
Yeah,
They have
that's I don't understand.
collectively now they have 1.5 trillion dollars. They're richer right now than 3.1 billion poorest people combined. So 10 people, not 10,000, not 10 million, 10 people, right? Central banks, what happened is that what Oxfam is showing. And basically, when central banks during the lockdowns and everything pumped trillions of dollars into financial markets to save the economy, somehow magically it ends up lining the pockets of those billionaires, and especially ultimately those 10 people. Now, they're so rich that if they lose 99% of their wealth tomorrow, they will still be richer than 99% of the human population. They're so crazy rich compared to everyone else that it's just you can't take them down.
You've got to feel like
What am I
you're
supposed
like
to
untouchable, unstoppable. You know,
Yeah,
I just saw
exactly.
an
That's the
article that
feeling.
Bezos was chasing after the fountain of youth. Like, why not? Why wouldn't he? What, the sky is
Mars,
the
the
limit.
fountain of
Yeah,
youth,
exactly.
editing our genes, can I live forever? These are the things that bother them, right? The it, and it gets more interesting than that. Seth, you have something on your at this
No, I'm still trying
on
to get myself interested. I had it, but let's keep going.
well, I'll tell you why it's interesting. I'll throw at you the question that I want us to really try to challenge ourselves with. But
I was talking
as
about an
yeah,
exciting transition that's coming to humanity and this force that's working itself through all of reality and affecting everyone.
and
And now all of a
and
sudden we're talking about 10 guys who are super rich and everyone else is
and
starving.
we'll
I'm
circle
confused.
back and get there, but we gotta open this up and build it up for a
Okay,
second
okay.
in order
All
to
right,
get there.
all right. I'm willing
This
to go for the ride.
ultimately we'll see the same force is doing everything, but
Okay, I'm
it
Couldn't
has
interested
to
couldn't
now. I
that
want to
same
see
okay.
how this is going to
force
play out.
couldn't that
What?
same force made me a trillionaire?
Yeah, seriously.
What did
That's a
I do wrong
question to
here?
ask. That's a question to ask. Okay, let's start here. These people, again, we're just talking about those 10 richest men, but they're just a symptom of what has happened since COVID. This is really the paradoxical situation that's happening here. The pandemic has widened the wealth gap, the economic disparity in such an extreme way. So as I was telling you, while the pandemic made those billionaires, so much richer than ever before, in the meantime, the incomes of 99% of the human population fell down during COVID to the point so if your income, if you got a raise in the last year and a half, then you're a unique individual, because for 99% of the people it didn't happen.
So, but wait,
The
they're spending more then? Like, how are these people getting richer if the money isn't coming from me? I mean, is it coming from me? I made less money, but I'm still giving more. I'm
so
still
one of the
giving more
one of the
money.
big reasons so one of the big reasons that they're exposing is that all those trillions of dollars that central banks pumped into financial markets to save them, to save the economy when the lockdowns mostly were happening, when there were a few months in 2020 when merchandise, trade stopped moving. We don't understand how much our economy globally is reliant on money moving all the time, things moving and transactions happening all the time. If we stop moving money for a while, a little bit more, a little bit, and that while becomes longer and longer, ultimately our civilization will collapse. We don't
So
understand.
it
That's
has to. So
how
basically,
our economy is built.
so it
But
has to
So it
be
sounds like blood or
moving
something.
towards Bezos and towards. I mean, it's not going to go to my neighbor, the money movement. It's going to be going towards
that
the. Somehow they have some
that's
kind of
some other
magnet.
that's some other failure of the system. That how paradoxical is it that when there is such a crisis, what it does is it widens the gap, it widens the inequality, and at the extremes. So you have 160 million people, new new 160 new million people that have been pushed into poverty in the last year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Anyway, here's the question I want to throw at you guys. Okay. Oxfam, these researchers who are collecting these stats, and they're an anti-poverty organization. They're saying, look, let's put a 99% tax on the COVID gains, just these COVID gains that these 10 people, the 10 richest men in the world, right? Let's just put a one-time, like a windfall tax on their COVID gains, all that they gained.
Can I call BS, or do I have to wait to hear the rest of the story?
Wait, one second. Let me just finish the question and then call BS. They're saying, let's do that. Let's do a 99% tax on their COVID gains. They will still, according to their calculations, they will still be $8 billion richer than they were before COVID. Right? Like, I'm not even $8 richer than I was before.
Wait, so COVID gains is gain
right?
made during COVID? That's
exactly,
a COVID gain.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I just told you about this extreme, like how the money ended up going to their pockets. They're saying, look, let's do a one-time tax. They're not even going to be less than what they are right now. They're still going to be $8 billion richer than they were before COVID. We take that money, we vaccinate the world. And there's much more that can be done with that money. They give some plan there. But basically, they're saying, why not? They'll still be richer than they are right now. And what scientists are saying, and that's kind of like the scientific basis of it, is this: 75% of the people in rich countries are vaccinated. In poor countries, only 7% of the people are vaccinated. So scientists are saying, why do we keep getting more and more COVID variants? Because COVID treats the globe like one organism. And if you leave a place that's not vaccinated, and that you don't, there's no health system there that takes care of the people and so on, that's where the new variant develops, which ultimately goes back to the Western countries, the more developed countries, the rich countries, and so on.
It's like they're saying COVID sees us as a global organism, but in any other aspect, nah, not important. Let's give these guys trillions.
Yeah, there's basically what I say right now. That's pretty much what they're saying. Take a look at this.
So Bezos and Musk they're against that. They don't want that.
I don't know what is their opinion specifically on that suggestion from Oxfam, but I want to know your opinion. And Seth is waiting for 5 minutes already to call BS.
I'm really trying to appreciate the story.
Okay, why do you think it's such an? What do you think? Anyway, that's what scientists are saying. Without global vaccinations, further variants ahead. That's basically
there's so many bottom line. I'm thinking.
Okay. Should we do it or not? That's my question to you guys. Let's say we can decide right now in this forum. Should we do it? We can snap the finger and we put the
there's so many problems. There's so many problems. First of all, why don't the guys, if there are good solutions, why don't the billionaires want to do them? Like, for example, if there was a way, right?
You're evading my question. You waited 5 minutes to call BS, and now you're evading my question.
Okay, so then the answer, I'll answer the question right away. I'll say no. The reason is because anybody you set up to actually collect that money and then distribute it equitably, it's too corrupt. They will
put me on that team.
They'll make a whole nother set of corruptions. They'll take people who weren't corrupt before.
What if I promise you that the money is going to be used for its purpose?
We're going to have that there's going to be no COVID. You don't have the power to promise me that.
No, I'm going to promise you that the money is going to be used for vaccinating the world. That's going to happen.
Now convince me that after everyone is vaccinated, are they going to still behave exactly the way they behaved before, so that in 6 months after that, they're going to need another vaccination? Or you're going to say you're going to vaccinate everyone and that's the end of all the problems, and then we can all just like go to Disney World again? Because what happens? Okay, fine, you vaccinated everyone. Same thing with you feed everyone. Feed every starving person in Africa. That's great. You know, I remember when I was a kid, they had these things to raise money to feed the starving children in Africa. But like, didn't they think, okay, after they eat this week, what are you going to do next week? And then, okay, now they're alive. Now they need education. They need houses. Dead people don't need houses. But if everyone's going to be alive, where are they going to live? what else like we need a plan here, guys. We don't need, hit me over the head with a brick and fix everything. We need a plan. We need a real serious plan for this problem. I think that this is totally naive. That's the main thing, I think.
And if they wanted to do it, would that would make it
Billionaires wanted to
fine?
do it?
Yeah, if they said, hey, you know what, we are Gates and Zuckerberg and Musk, and we are smart, intelligent people who have trillions of dollars collectively, it's not a big deal for us to just make a project. We can even run it ourselves.
I would be super suspicious if they wanted to do it.
I'm just
because you're already thinking, how are they gonna gain from this?
I'm putting options on the table, and
I don't think the solution. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing makes me feel like we need the wisdom of Kabbalah more and more.
Sure, but let's see. No, I think, Chris, you wanna jump in
I'm
here?
still looking. I'm going back. I'm zooming out a little bit. So here on Earth, we have these basically, let's say, 10 people who are. They have a lot of control, a lot of decision-making power. Oxfam is looking at them to kind of agree or make this decision. What even is this stage that we arrived at, where you have 10 people, where the rest of the world is kind of looking at them to say, "Hey, can you guys make this decision for us?" And it's almost like we expect them to say no, but why? How? It's just kind of a strange situation where the whole world's looking, and it's really up to them, but then everyone also knows they're just like me, and I would just act out of my own self-interest as well. I don't really expect them to do it. Kind of a lot of weird dynamics happening here.
What is that a person is worth hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not dedicating their life for others?
What do you mean?
What do you
Why is it?
What?
Why would I dedicate myself to others? I got this.
Yeah.
I got all this money by dedicating myself to me.
No, I know, but I'm saying I'm curious. Like, why doesn't a person have some kind of inner development that happens in them? How could you have that much money and just keep thinking about yourself?
But they're not, in their view. They're thinking about going to Mars, pioneering, trailblazing, creating the new next frontier for humanity.
And they're keeping the money flowing. Like Asaf said, it was very important
Bill
to keep the
Gates is a philanthropist, especially in the medical healthcare realm. So he's so. What are you talking about? They're good people doing good things. You're so funny
when you're trying to be serious.
Oh, I was believing you. What do we call these people? We call them the stupidest wise people. Didn't we have a name for them?
You said idiot genius one time, I think.
Idiot geniuses?
Yeah.
No,
idiotic geniuses.
So I don't hear a clear answer, except that both of you guys
I would saying, not. I don't think that they should.
You wouldn't text them.
I don't know what the right answer is. I would just say no. I would say no, because I think any taxing system would be even more corrupt.
Okay.
I think that billionaires at least are really good at running their businesses. I think the government's not good at running a business.
I agree with you. I think most of the world agrees with you, but
I want them out of their own good heart.
That this isn't the problem. The problem is not that the money will not be used for that purpose. So let's go deeper then. Why not? Okay. And you mentioned that they're not doing it themselves also. Why aren't they doing it themselves? I mean, if these are some of humanity's most innovative, smart, intelligent, and definitely the wealthiest people, and it's not a lot that they need to do in order to solve this vaccination thing. And some of these people understand the public health very well, just like Bill Gates, who's really into it, as I mentioned. And I'm sure that Elon Musk understands public health very well as well. So why don't they just kind of call each other up and say, hey guys, maybe we just kind of let's just solve this little global vaccination problem. Yeah, let's do that. Why continue to put millions, billions of dollars into flying a rocket 40 million miles away to Mars instead of just, taking 1 month, where you put money and effort to solve this thing? Why aren't they doing that? Come on.
I
Because
seriously
they're
don't
still
know.
monkeys.
Because what?
They're still monkeys.
I mean, there's
I
a
would
million
say,
reasons why
okay,
not. Why not to
sure.
do that? I mean, what, someone else is there for that.
Uh-huh.
The government's supposed to take care of that. Some other organization is supposed to take care of that. Why are they looking at me? I mean, there's a
I
million
would.
reasons to justify not doing it.
If I had
Uh-huh.
that much money, I would definitely take care of myself and like everyone around me. I would, make sure to have, like I would have like something massaging my feet while I was doing the show, silent one, like under there. I would have like an espresso machine, silent espresso. I would like have everything I needed. But then, like after I had all of that, what else do you do with your life
Go to
besides?
Mars. That's a big one.
Oh God, yeah, this is
Compete
a
with
really
other
hard question for me.
billionaires.
Why are they
Compete with
not
other
doing it?
billionaires.
Why are
Yes.
they not doing it? After they
Yes.
purchased everything they could ever need and have
Yeah.
more than they could ever spend in 100 lifetimes,
Yes.
why are they not losing sleep figuring out how to help all of humanity? Why do they think that it's better
Yes.
that there's some solution on Mars that's more practical? Going to Mars is a better solution for
Hmm.
humanity than actually teaching people how to get along with each other.
Wait, I didn't even introduce teaching people to get along. I'm just saying there's a few burning issues in this world that they can solve, at least on a technical level. We can argue about the vaccinations. I'm not even, I'm not going into this whole pro and anti-vax kind of discussion here. It's just to make a point. Here is a clear problem they can tackle relatively easily. It's easier than going to Mars. It's cheaper than going to Mars, right? It's within their reach. Why aren't they doing it? I'll give you an answer. I'll offer an answer. They're not doing it because we don't want them to.
Oh,
You know, you know what I mean?
Nice.
Here is the
Ooh.
problem. Here is the problem. We have a value distortion in society. This is what's going on here. We are normalizing and legitimizing and making a reality that is dystopian into something that makes sense. And
Ooh.
you cannot see it even because our minds are so distorted by this
give an
value
example.
shift.
Give an example of that.
Okay, yes,
Paint a picture
yes.
a little bit.
So in this pandemic, they found that since the beginning of the pandemic, a new billionaire is created every 26 hours. That means, so the pandemic has been going on for almost 2 years. Let's round it up to like a 24 hours. So let's say a new billionaire a day. So there's about 700 billion new billionaires that have been, made. And at the same time, there's a person who dies every 4 seconds because of the growing inequality. 21,000 people a day die because of this growing inequality, because people at the edges, at the bottom
How
edges,
many people
are
die a
pushed.
day?
A person every
In
4
general?
seconds.
So
No,
how
in
many is it?
general.
Just that's just
21,000?
21,300.
Let me ask you guys a question.
That's just due to inequality.
If you could become a billionaire and
Yeah,
21,000 people would have to die, would you do it?
there you go.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
You
Now,
said yes, Chris? Oh,
I'm just
Mhm.
representing
I'm not gonna, I wouldn't
the
answer.
reasonable
Actually, I wouldn't
audience.
answer. Is this being recorded? I'm not answering.
Here's the thing. The Of course we cannot expect these people to do it when we have a system that rewards inequality. So
What do you mean it
what
rewards
happens?
inequality?
Yeah. Inequality is required in our socioeconomic system in order for it to function. You have to have the competition that we're basing our system on, is that the more you can get for yourself, the greater person you are. The more you can dominate, whether it's in the financial world, the economic world, or some realm of business, whatever it is, that is what makes you a great person. Now, you cannot change that without changing the value system. What would happen? What would make those 10 richest men in the world, what would make them invest all of their passion and their energies and their resources into solving things that are important to people?
I guess a value shift.
The answer is very simple. It's what they feel that they will be valued by. That's it.
You mean by other people? How other people?
By everyone, by their peers, by the public, by the media, by everyone. So we look at Elon Musk, for example, and we have this idyllic picture. It's a symbol, right? We immediately just classify this as, what do you think? What's the positioning exercise, right? Like in marketing and branding, there's such a thing called positioning, which is basically what room, what space does a brand occupy in the public mind, right? So what place does the brand Elon Musk occupy in people's mind, right? Ingenuity, creativity, innovation, pioneering, the future, human, the next frontier, going to space, electric cars, all of that stuff. The next big thing is gonna come. That's what you think when you go Elon Musk, right? Just do this exercise. Think Trump for a second. Think about what comes to mind. Think Bill Gates. Right? That's like a positioning exercise, like a cognitive map, if you will. So what if you put it in front of your mind that the wealthiest 1%, they emit, including Elon Musk, what they're responsible for emits twice as much carbon dioxide as the bottom 50% of humanity, just these 10 people. But who judges them for that? Who makes, who notices that? Who puts this in their mind and goes like, okay, we have a problem here. We have a problem here. So what I'm saying is that we have a value system disorder. That's the real issue. Gradually, with COVID, though, thanks to COVID and thanks to climate change, I think nature itself is going to show us the values that we have to change to, the value shift we need to go through if we are to survive on this planet. And in a future society that actually takes care of all of its members and the world and our relationship with nature, Bala Sulam, the greatest Kabbalist of the previous generation, says one would feel like a robber and a murderer if they feel that society thinks of them as egoistic. You wouldn't be able to act in a way that you cause damage to the system and damage to society.
The way that I feel, I'm nervous to, even if I felt like killing someone, I wouldn't kill someone because I wouldn't want society to look at me in a certain way. I wouldn't want to have the punishment of it in the future.
Exactly. Yes. And what do you think today when you think about those idols, those 10 idols of the economic world and the business world? What do you think of them today? You want to be like them. I'm talking about most people, average, kind of the average perception, the positioning, right? What's the message that you hear about these people in the media? What is the kind of attitude? The attitude is, first of all, what do you want from them? They've achieved what they've achieved thanks to their own skills, ambition, efforts, and it's true. Luck. They did. They did. They can do with their wealth and their resources whatever they want. What are you, a communist now? You're going to just, tax them. You're going to take what's theirs. Where is freedom? That's our perception today. And we don't consider it violent or distorted that we allow, we give them this, we give anyone the support, the thinking that that's what you need to take care of yourself as if you were an isolated cell in the system, grow as much as you want, as much as you can, and do the things that you feel like doing. And you don't need to be accountable if you did it all in your own strength and in your own power.
I feel like there's
ultimately it's not going to work. That's what I'm saying. It's not an ethical thing.
That's exactly the problem. It feels like humanity is kind of like looking for this hero. Like I'm not the hero type. I'm not the kind to be, obviously Musk and Bezos, they work really hard. I mean, you've all seen the videos about how many hours they work and sleeping in the thing, right?
Not taking that away from them. Sure.
No, I'm not even really commenting on that. I'm saying that if we have seemingly, it doesn't feel so dramatic that these people are holding the key to solving COVID in their hands. We could wipe out COVID if you guys would just do this. Clearly, it's not going to happen. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to already just jump to that conclusion and imagine they're not going to allow themselves to be taxed and vaccinate the whole planet and all that? So let's just assume that they're not going to do that. And if they don't do that, it's almost like, guys, we had these guys. They were able to save the planet. We kind of look up to them and respect them and value them, and they kind of let us down. So who's the next hero in line? What actually needs to happen? Humanity is always in this kind of like pyramid, like, okay, we're the little drones down here, we're the peasants, then there's another level and there's another level, and that's just kind of like how it is. I guess I'm down here and I guess they're up there, and whatever happens, happens. But the only reason that it changes is because something fails, usually. Communism failed. New system. It's almost like we stumbled upon this thing called capitalism, which, seemed really great at the beginning, American dream, we can make anything happen. But now that we're looking back in history, we're examining all the details, we see there's a lot of kind of bad things happening behind the scenes. A lot of people stealing money, a lot of people being super selfish, and then they were able to be successful and create this thing. And really, you have all this great technology and all these great things that happen from it, but really, it was kind of ugly and kind of dirty the way that we got here. Now we're seeing these 10 people at the top of this system that we've created for ourselves that was so successful, and they can save the world, kind of, right? They can save the world, and then it looks like they're just going to fail us. So who's going to replace them? What's the next step?
I'm saying you don't even expect them to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they
right.
don't feel any pressure to use to funnel their resources, energies, and abilities.
So weird that they don't.
For the what's best for mankind. They have their own businesses to take care of, and they have their own passion to take care of. And if my passion is to go to Mars right now, 20,000 people a day, a person every 4 seconds is going to keep dying. 7% is going to keep being the percent of people who are vaccinated in the low income countries.
So hold on, check this out.
All of that. Yeah.
Check this out. Oxfam is coming after them. In general, though, according to what you're telling us and what I could really relate to, the public, there's not a huge public outcry for the billionaires to change their behavior and do something different for the benefit of others and fix everything. It's just not a general outcry. And you explained the reason why is because we as a public don't have that desire in us that's what we really want, and that's not what we value, and that's not what we...
Yes, we don't want interdependence. We don't want to be mutually responsible for each other and mutually accountable. We don't want that. We want to keep thinking that everyone can be... We are worshiping the ego. The personal egocentric perception is what we are worshiping. That is our king. The result, 10 people who are extremely wealthy, as opposed to, people dying every 4 seconds because of that. And in such a system, because of such a system, I'm not blaming those billionaires, just to be clear. Sorry, go ahead.
there is a group of people that people keep demanding from.
Okay.
All
What a
right.
segue.
Yeah.
What a segue. All right. That's a very forceful segue, Seth. We will take it because I think we have kind of exhausted this topic. I mean, we could stay on it more, but yeah, I'll take that segue.
Okay.
Okay. Do that again, because that's an inner gag for probably maybe a few CABU students there were with us here.
There
Okay.
was a hostage situation at a synagogue that happened
Right.
this past weekend. Okay, and
Represent.
I don't know what
It was stupid. It
there
happened
was
in Texas, right? So I was
in
just
Texas.
being,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but what was you know? Let's remember there was 800 homicides in Chicago in 2021. Like, let's remember there's no shortage of terrible things happening around. So there's not that this was like the worst thing that happened. All kind of communities have terrible things all the time. And in one city like Chicago, to have hundreds of homicides in a year, I mean, I'm sure every one of those or most of those, you know, family members, somebody lost a family member, or there was a lot of tragic stories. Someone got shot in a drive-by, and no one will ever know their names, and nobody cares about these people, and they're just forgotten statistics and move on, right? So,
Hostage is a different situation. It's a little bit different. You kind of
okay,
feel it
imagine there
differently.
was a kidnapping, Chris, in Chicago or somewhere. There's plenty
Okay.
of horrible things, okay? God forbid, but there's plenty of horrible things that are happening. But what's interesting in the story, now I'm not trying to make light of the situation. I'm just trying to be real that there's no shortage of people who are dealing with big problems in their community. But what was interesting about this to me, this story, from what I understand, from what I read, was that this guy felt that the rabbi at this random synagogue was like some connected to the network of rabbis that could, you know, call off the vaccine or, you know, call off the New World Order, because this small group of Jews, or because the Jews because they control the media, or they control the virus, or there is this, while people don't turn to billionaires who have in their hands plenty of billions to do things, but people keep turning to the Jews and doing weird things like
Oh, that's
this
an interesting
hostage
That
situation or
comparison.
is
something like
That's
this.
that
And
so in.
you just
Yeah.
justified your segue. That's an interesting comparison. That you have these 10 people, you know their faces, you know their names. Not all of them are Jews. Okay.
thank God.
And they're technically are the ones who can solve some things here in the world, including, and yet there's way more people, I bet, that would subscribe to uh, a conspiracy theory like the Jews are responsible
Is
for
it a
COVID.
conspiracy?
And
Yeah, why are you calling it a
wait, well,
conspiracy theory?
that's how we have to first call it the way people are calling it.
No, but it is
Then
interesting.
we
It
can
is
go
interesting
deeper.
because this guy had a
But
real
but
feeling like
mhm,
this is my way to change something through
right.
these guys.
So let's define it then. Wait, Seth, do you want me
Yeah,
to,
go. Let's open it.
yeah?
Let's open it
Okay.
up.
Let's define it then. People have the hostage situation is just one, again, not to downplay this event, but let's also not forget 11 people were murdered in Pittsburgh 4 years ago and so on. This is, there's event after event. If you follow what's happening in terms of anti-Semitism and all these events, it's happening all the time. Some of them are bigger events, smaller events, but it keeps happening. There is this unexplainable urge that people have to see Jews as responsible for all the evils of the world. That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
there's really a feeling that these people, and to pick someone out on there's stories like every week now that some guy is walking down the street and he like spits in some Jewish kid's face and punches him in the head or something like that. And let's also say that an Asian woman was pushed in front of the New York City subway this week. So the point is not that there's hatred between everyone, right? And that people aren't hurting each other everywhere. But we have to notice this really strange phenomenon around the
Yeah.
world for thousands of years, that it's not like I'm picking the Jew who's, whispering in the president's ear about a military contract. It's like I just hate them all in general. Like I just want to go into some random synagogue in Texas, or I want to punch some Jewish kid in the face in the street. Like what is that feeling that these people I'm holding them accountable. Like there's something that they're doing wrong.
That's the point. I think that's we if we want to be very precise about it, the example you gave with the background of that person who so you described the background of that person who committed the he was taking the people hostage in that synagogue, right? So
Yeah.
he thought that
From what I
rabbi
heard, I read
yeah.
some article, and we know that the news is,
Mhm.
you can't really trust it very
Right,
much. But
sure.
what I understood was he had the Texas rabbi call some New York rabbi because he thought that they Jews, they know each other and they could
Right.
fix something.
So that's why I think hatred towards Jews is a it's a very blanket statement. I think it doesn't hit the it doesn't come close enough to what's going on here. What's going on here is a very specific, irrational, unexplainable urge that people feel to point at the Jews.
But all
To
racism or whatever
yeah,
schism is all kind of it's all kind of
I
it's all
disagree.
irrational, really.
Irrational, you could say yeah, I disagree. I just disagree. I think there's a difference, and I think the difference is this: racism essentially is I hate someone who's not like me. Again, I'm boiling it down, and I'm just to make the point. Just to make the point, with Jews, there is this attachment of views that come with that hatred, that are about you are responsible, something bad happening in the world, and it's because of you. Now, in one time in history, it could be the Black Plague, whatever it's called. Another time in history, it's something else. Another Today, you can just Google it, and you'll go into a world of ideas that people have. Jews own the banks, and Jews own the, and there is this feeling that this group of people is somehow running things behind the scenes. That is the kind of there's this feeling, there's this some sort of a responsibility and ability that they have.
There's a
That is
force.
Kabbalah explains that feeling.
There's a force
Yeah.
that comes from before creation, before there was any reality. Okay, before the Big Bang. It's a force called Bina. That force needs to enter into the world, needs to develop, needs to permeate all of the world. I want to come out and say that this force developed through creation until it came out in the in inside in something called a soul. When it finally started to, when that force becomes something manageable and manifest, it's called a soul in this world. Like when a person is alive and then what would you call it? Attains that, the realization of that force, the revelation of that force. It's contained in something called the soul, and the group of people who did that, who made that vessel for that light of Bina that came from before creation into this world, were happened at Sinai, Mount Sinai. So the hatred, whereas you wanted to look at it and say,
Wait,
well,
wait,
you
wait,
know,
wait, wait. No, you have to stop here, and we have to add something here,
I
because
don't even know what bina
that
is. I don't even know what that is. What do you mean bina? What is that? Where'd it come from?
just the name of a force.
What do I need it for?
good question. And also, who are those people in whom that it's somehow manifested, right?
Well, in 2022, there are Maria and Stacy and Tinkle Pink and Kyle Walker and Debbie Brady and
I wouldn't say it like
whoever.
that.
Okay, tell me.
I don't
How
think
would you say it?
that's the best way to explain it. There is the early Jews, the initial grouping of people called Jews were people from all of humanity. That's fact number one, according to the
So it's not
Kabbalistic
a
sages. No, no,
genealogy.
they're not a unique race. They're not a unique anything. They're a group of people that came from all of the tribes and clans and groupings of people that existed in the cultural civil center of humanity about 4,000 years ago. That's important to understand. That is important to understand. These are the initial Jews. It's people who were, I don't know, if you compare it to today, they were Iranian and American and French and English and New Zealanders and whatever. They were people of different tribes and clans and so on who lived in a cultural center of humanity called Babylon. Humanity was only about 1 million people back then. That's all. And they came together and formed their own way of living,
which became a vessel for that light.
Which became a vessel for a different kind.
And what is it that they did? What is it that they did?
They took all those differences. They took all those differences that they had, and essentially what they did, evolutionarily speaking, it is they are a reflection of the whole human network, creating a model of global unity, but a mini model. So the original Jews are a holographic mini model of the entire human network. That's what Jews are originally, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah. What Jews are today is a confusion. Anti-Semitism is based on a deep-seated feeling that exists in humanity for about 3,800 years. It has to do with the conflict between that group and the rest of humanity. We can't go into all this now. But anti-Semitism...
Can you call it between Malchut and Bina?
Ultimately, yes, of course.
Okay.
Ultimately. But if we just brought it up, Kabbalist Isaac Kook, huge Kabbalist, lived in the times of Baal Sulam, just, in the last century, wrote that Israel is... you won't find any movement, any tendency in any nation that doesn't exist in that group called Jews. How is that possible? Because they are a model of the whole human network. So it's not them, it's not a group, it's not one specific nation out of other nations. It's a collection of representatives of all the other nations. We have to keep that in mind. That's what they started from. Today, what happened is a completely convoluted situation. Today, we have a situation where the feeling that people have today towards that archetype, towards that group, they don't even know towards what it is, but there is a memory left in the collective psyche of humanity, in the spiritual memory of humanity. There is a memory that something is supposed to happen with that group, and what that something is that the unity they achieved, being a vessel for Bina, that is supposed to spread throughout the human network.
I still don't understand what Bina is.
That's where the demand, the feeling of a deep-seated demand towards that group comes from. But today, when people feel anti-Semitism, they don't understand that. They just feel the surface level of it, and what they can point to is the remainder, the corporeal, superficial, external picture, symbolically called Jews. They're not even the Jews of today are
So I
not
have
part
to
of that
blame
group
someone. I don't really
anymore.
know who to blame. I don't really know why I'm blaming them. I see this external thing and I have this internal feeling and I'm saying those are the ones. So really I'm not blaming Bezos and I'm because I don't even want them to give me the vaccine. I'm actually blaming some I'm blaming and Bina. What is
uh,
Bina? This is confusing to me.
I
Bina. I
understand
know
being
that it's
as
an important
is
force, but
confusing.
somehow, like, what is it? Why is it?
Just a 1 minute story about what about that feeling that you just described. I remember, and you guys know this story. Kabbalist Michael Lightman tells our teacher tells this story sometimes about how when he was in maybe 30 years ago or something like that in Germany, I think, or something like that, some person who was like a you could see he was a simple guy, like a farmer or something like that, came up to him, identified he was a Jew, and told him, "Why aren't you guys building the third temple? Why aren't you fixing the world?" Like something like that. People, how come people have that kind of feeling? Where does that come from? That person, and he wasn't like a religious person, or like you could say you know uh what do you evangelical kind of a thing. No, just had a feeling, that kind of encounter. And there's a lot of people who encountered things like that. Where does that come from? There is a deeper root to these feelings. Unfortunately, today it's being expressed as anti-Semitism towards a group that we refer to as Jews, but from a spiritual perspective, they're not even necessarily called Jews. You understand what's happening today? It's a very complicated
It's super
thing.
super complicated. Chris, I want to get to the question of what is what is being if there's a force that a force of love, a force of good, let's call it. It needs to now earth, all of creation is just like a bunch of dirt. It's just dirt. It's water and dirt. So you have to, right? You can take a man and a woman, a seed and an egg, and put them together, but you're not going to get life. You're just going to get rotting protein. We need this force of life. So whatever this force of life is, and that's corporeal life even, but some spiritual life. So in order, some force enters into reality, because otherwise we're just monkeys developing over, we're just matter developing. But in order for all of matter to awaken to this one, become this one vessel that this endless light can dwell in, this force has to come in and impregnate earth, Malchut, with this light. How does it happen? It doesn't happen from magical mangoes falling from the sky. It doesn't happen from magic mushrooms coming up from the earth. It happens by this force called Bina that somehow becomes, gets held. It can be held in this world. It can be created by people in their intentions, I guess, as you would call it, building some kind of vessel for it. When they connect, when people connect together above their differences, that force of Bina manifests in this world.
And let me add to that connection above differences, that's the key thing here. It's not some man-made invention. This is something that nature has been doing in all the previous levels of evolution as well. What is the next level of life? It's more diversity covered by more advanced connection, more advanced communication. That is what makes an organism more a higher level of being than a previous organism. More individuation, more diversity, more differences between cells, and then they connect to a multicellular organism. More systems, and then they connect to a more complex being. That's what's happening with the human network as well. We become more separated, more individuated. That's what happened in Babylon about 4,000 years ago. They began to each have their own clan, their own group, their own style, their own way of life, their own agenda. They began clashing with each other. And the Jews, the original Jews, were that group of people from all those different cells of humanity that said, wait a second, let's try to find a way to connect all these differences together and build something new.
And when they did, something dwelled in that connection.
A force of life, nature's force. Call it the quality of Bina, if you want to go Kabbalistic on your viewers.
That's what I want to do.
I want to go Kabbalistic. But that's what happened. And so that manifestation of Bina in that group of people is something that is destined to spread to the whole human network. Until that happens,
when we connect together to make that vessel, it's there.
Yeah, and that's the meaning of a Jew. What's a Jew? Jew comes from the word Yehud. Yehudi comes from the word Yehudi. Yehud means unity. That's what it means. The fact that you're today a descendant of a descendant of a descendant of a descendant of someone who's in that group doesn't make you necessarily, spiritually speaking.
So you're saying this guy was turning to the wrong person, the wrong people, this hostage taker.
That's part of the story.
Shouldn't come hold the Kabbalists hostage, but there's something to learn from this.
That's part of the story. I can also tell you that the reason he goes to a synagogue or goes to because that's where he can find an outlet to that feeling, and he doesn't understand that the depth of that feeling. He only feels the impulse of it. Turn to these people, hold them accountable, hold that group accountable somehow. But yes, he's treating that superficial level. The only thing that exists today in whoever you call a Jew today, besides a genealogy of being a descendant of that early group, which is a corporeal thing, is silent spiritual records. But they're silent, they're inactive. That's a topic for a whole other discussion.
Let's get into that. Let's talk. Let's figure out how to do a conversation about
I told you that there's not going to be enough time, and we're going to end up being misunderstood, and it's not. It's not as easy as it seems to, and you can't open it up. But I
can't help but push the limits.
I think our audience will will excuse our. Tell us what you think. Tell us if this was at least somewhat comprehensible, because it's a complicated topic to get into in such a short time.
I mean, if we're not going to blame Bezos, and we're not, and we don't even want to, and I mean, give me somebody I can blame, some kind of grasp on something that I can say, take me to the future, take me to the good future. I'm willing to listen a little bit, even if you say the word Jew.
It's important to answer this question, I'm going to steal a minute and say that the only thing that we should be looking at as the source of all our problems in the world is our inability to connect on a higher level. All humans. That's the problem. What is COVID showing us by widening the inequality? That we're one thing. Why are we discovering that we have to vaccinate the whole world in order to get well? Because we're gradually discovering the law of nature, that my well-being depends on everyone's well-being. Soon we will also discover that this economic system that perpetuates inequality is maybe better than everything we had before, communism and other dictatorial kind of systems, but it's also not going to work in the long run, because nature requires us to be completely responsible for each other. And you can't be oblivious to other people, even if you're playing by the rules. The rules are wrong. The rules that we have today for society are based on worshiping the ego and allowing it to just go rampant and do whatever it wants. Nature wants us to feel a deeper fulfillment than the human ego, the fulfillment that is the wholeness of nature, the mutuality that exists between all the levels of nature. We are supposed to feel it on a conscious level by connecting between us above all our differences. And nature will take us there. whether it's through a virus or through a volcano or through climate change, global warming. Nature is gradually setting the stage to show us you got to change your values. You got to see yourselves as one, just like I see you as one. And you got to connect on a higher level. If you want to build these positive intentions towards each other, then you'll see how you can build a world that works for everyone.
Well, I was struggling to even.
There's
no.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was struggling to think about this for even a minute, until we got on this call. Like, I'm so old saying get on this call. When we had this conversation, sometimes we forget that we have a bunch of people connected with us, and it's like, I don't know, it takes effort to think about these things. And then when you have other people joining us,
it doesn't come natural.
It's like it has to come out of a communal discussion. I don't know. Otherwise, it's not important. Then why do I even think about other people? But we have a bunch of people connected with us from all over the world. I saw that too.
Yeah.
And they continue. They keep coming, no matter how ridiculous we sound sometimes or whatever. But I'm happy to see them. I'm happy to see everybody engaging with one another.
I prefer hard to understand, hard to follow.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. I'll take ridiculous sometimes. Okay.
No, it's all right. It's good. I just want to say thank you for everyone joining. I barely looked over here because I was so engaged, but I see that there's a lot of people hanging out.
Yeah, friends, thank you everyone for being here. Seth, yalla, wrap it up for us.
We need to talk more about how we as those spiritual descendants are going to connect in such a way that light of Bina will dwell here, will feel that endless light here in our lives, shining on the whole world, everyone included. We'll be back to talk about what's going on in the world through the lens of the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Asaf. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you again.
Face after face, race after race, from one cage to another. Mask after mask, task after task, lost in the sands.
Through you there's a cry, through you there's a light, a place to be discovered. Through you there's a way, together we pray to rise.
To see the face of love through your eyes. Together as one, and now we rise. And every word an echo from the skies. Breaking the walls, hearts unite.
See a picture of me. Through you I find my flaws. Through there's a key, a place where we can
open doors. Together we yearn, the fire it burns, a chance to feel alive. A song from the heart, singing that love will cover our crime. To see the face of